I've got the privilege here of being able to kind of close out this session, and I'm going to talk a little bit about algorithmic search change and response, and of course, how SEO and SEM align, but in a little bit of a different vein, under the guise of the future of search. And the reason for this is because we as SEOs are kind of converging with our paid media brethren in really sharing a lot of the same optimization levers with one another. And some of the practices that have existed in media for a very long time, and the way we kind of programmatically optimize campaigns and drive solutions and drive traffic to sites or drive sales results, a lot of that mindset is kind of coming into the organic search world, and that's for a number of reasons, which we'll get into a little bit. So, me, I like Jurassic Park. I like the Cubs, go Cubs. And I've been in this business for about 8 or 9 years. I work at Performex, which is a global performance marketing arm of Publicis Group. We've been in the SEO business since 2005. We started in affiliate marketing in 1998. So we were really born in performance, born in data, using data to inform buying decisions for clients. And as a result of evolutions in the marketplace, have kind of added additional services. In 2013, we kind of took the lid off of our various content practices in conversion optimization, user experience, performance design, copywriting, influencer marketing, and SEO, and we combined them in a one holistic team that sits and works together because search and SEO is really leaning more, as you heard from a number of the other speakers, on the quality side of things, and experience and delivering great experience manifests itself in positive results for clients and ranking. And so that's what we do. And so if you're interested in learning more about us, please stop by our booth. And so what will we discuss today? We're going to discuss the rise of voice search and machine learning. These are two themes you've probably heard if you've been paying attention to the industry for a while, and how those are informing the future of search, which is this idea of programmatic optimization. It's not a new concept. In fact, many large-scale websites like retailers or big e-commerce sites with millions of SKUs have really had to rely on programmatic optimization to scale SEO, because when you go from a website of 30 pages to one that has an infinite number of permutations, you have to rely on rules-based optimization to scale. And so, and we'll kind of conclude with an example of something we've done and put in a market for a client. So, before I kind of get into the two dominant forces that are shaping the future of the landscape, I want to just kind of remind everybody what search is. And search is this knowledge and growth in human knowledge, and then technology or machines. And these two things don't grow in linear ways. They don't, our ability to produce knowledge information online is not at the same rate as the ability of a company like a Google or a Bing or somebody else to process that information. And so, when Blogger.com was launched and everyone was able to kind of become, at-home bloggers and influencers in writing in the earlier days, our ability to grow and develop information really ballooned and grew incredibly. Social media has given rise to a totally new way of individual citizens producing massive amounts of information and content. And so that's kind of grown at a rate that's disproportionate to our ability to process that information using machines and technology. But the machines are winning. They're catching up. Not all Terminator yet, but machines are growing in the capability of them to understand the context and nuance behind exchanges is really allowing us to better index information and retrieve it and serve it back to us in interesting ways that are different from the 10 Google results that I first saw when I entered into the SEO world. And so search kind of coasts along and grows at a different rate over time as these two forces grow kind of opposite one another. In addition to that, search is fragmenting at a rate that's greater than ever. And so, yeah, we know Amazon is 55-ish% of commerce searches start on Amazon, and a very much smaller portion of all web online transactions occur on Amazon. So Amazon has an influencing role over search holistically, online and offline. You heard Nick go through some details of Amazon optimization, which are awesome. YouTube, second largest search engine. Twitter for news, real-time information. LinkedIn for jobs. A funny picture website or encyclopedia. One of my favorites is now Spot Hero, where I don't go online and look for a parking garage anywhere anymore. I'm just driving, I open an app, I see what's nearby me, I book a location, and I'm parking. So that's pulling searches out of the search supply chain, if you want to think about it, of the market. And as that continues to happen, the base on which many of us started our careers is being eroded, systematically eroded, and don't take place in one or two locations anymore. They're everywhere, in apps, on these websites, and in many other places, more so than I could ever fill a screen with. And so we just have to be mindful of the fact that, yes, you have to choose and optimize in certain forums here more actively than you have before, but the scale is getting to a point where we can't really control it with a hands-on keyboard way every day, at least on a site-by-site basis. In addition to that too, the way we search is evolving, which kind of again snowballs this idea that search takes place in different areas and increases the fragmentation. So picture and scan search. I have a friend of mine who was looking for tile for his bathroom, saw some really great tile in a hotel, took a picture of it, did image search, found it was a Swedish tile manufacturer, and then promptly decided not to buy it because it's far too expensive. You have car dashboard search too, so as you're driving, you can speak to your vehicle, and that's kind of prompting voice search. And I'm not going to go into the nuances of voice search here, but suffice it to say, voice search is only possible now because of our ability to classify, and companies like Google or Amazon or other data processing companies' ability to classify and catalog information in bite-sized chunks to give answers back to us. These are very real forces that are disrupting the environment and the way we search in new and interesting ways, and I'm sure there's going to be eventually brainwave-based search at some point, although I'll have my tinfoil hat on then. So search engines are also changing the way they present this information. It's not just the way an Alexa or a Google Assistant speaks back to you, but it's the fact that I get location-based PLAs, which is a paid medium, or which takes up different real estate on the results page. These shopping is still a tab, but Google's trying to minimize the amount of clicks that need to happen outside of that pure transaction, because that's where they exist. They want customers to stay on google.com for as long as possible so they continue to monetize their space. Of course, local and the map packs are changing. We have the knowledge graph, which includes quick answers and lots of other variable formats of how information is being presented back to us. And so not only how we search and the methods we search, but the way the information is presented back to us or read back to us is changing. So let me go into voice search a little bit here. A number of very interesting statistics about why it's compelling to use a voice assistant. I'm still surprised when I see people struggle to yell at Siri and ask it a simple question. Sometimes you go, what's the weather today? And it starts telling you, the weather today. Okay, do I need an umbrella today? It tells you where you can buy an umbrella. We're not quite there yet with the forced response. However, voice search is extremely important to our future because the way in which we package and present information allows a semi-autonomous, machine here to spit us back, very bite-sized chunks of information, but it's not going to read us a whole editorial piece from the New York Times. At least I hope it doesn't, because I can't imagine listening in my kitchen to a robot read me an article. But if your business is in quick answers or in answers.com, something like voice search is going to be maybe helpful for you if, and it's a big if, you're chosen to be the source of that information. And it's very likely you're not if you're on the Google hit list for other reasons of quality and concern. And so these technologies rely very heavily on micro formats and optimization and modularization of information that provides contextual clues and is able to spit back an answer. And so it's part of our future and part of something we need to be mindful of optimization, but it is not the be-all, end-all. We still need libraries of information in ways different the way people are going to search. And so that kind of gets into this next point of this growing array of machine learning capability to process information is not so much to give you the when was, Abraham Lincoln assassinated. I don't know why I went with a morbid example there, sorry. But, any other factual information. But it's also, think about it, Google just launched this whole home platform. They have Wi-Fi routers, or Wi-Fi modules for your home, a new Cast device, a phone, the Home Pod so you can shout things across your kitchen. All of that is using all this multi-sensory input that exists in our home setting, not because, they want those extra voice searches, but because they get so much more context about our lives. Every exchange that's happening, all the traffic going through my router, or the programming I watch, or the way I speak and ask questions on my device, it's going to get smarter. It's going to learn more about why I'm asking those questions, which means it's going to give me answers to things before I have to ask them. And so if I think about the Google Assistant platform on a phone, if I'm talking with my friends in a 4-person message, and I'm talking about going to see a movie like Jurassic Park, so I'm talking about seeing the movie, it knows where I am physically, it knows who the people are that I'm communicating with, so there's 4 of us. It knows the kind of times that we're available because it's in our calendars. So it's not too far-fetched to say, I might at one point in time hold down the voice assistant button and say, okay, Google, buy tickets. I don't say, Google, what are the movie times in 60618? Google, I need 4 tickets. Google, what theaters are playing this movie? it's just completely collapsing the entire consumer search journey into one expression, is because it has so much more information about the context behind my ask. This is the essence of moment marketing. And being able to answer those questions and be positioned to be the movie theater that sells me those tickets is going to rely on a lot of things that have nothing to do with how good your title tags are. So, what do you do about all this, guys? Okay. So with the rise of these different search technologies like voice search and machine learning, we have to kind of shift our mindset from this is my page, these are the things I need to do to get this page optimized and to rank better, to one that is more, how do I build a bulwark of information around the core concepts that my business or my products or my services, and programmatically optimize those so I can scale that across and get that information out to all the different places in which people are going to search or find and discover this information. And so the way I think about this, programming roots, word of caution, is content as objects. If you think of your product or service, let's say use an individual SKU here. So coffee, you sell coffee, but if you don't have K-Cup in your description of your coffee information on Amazon, you're not going to show up for a coffee-related search when someone searches for K-Cup. You may have them, but if it's not in your description, you're not going to show up. So the simple optimization routes still apply in things like a description or product facts, like what device is this compatible with, its size, its shape, how much it weighs, all those types of details. There's other optimized elements like the titles and metas, reviews-based information, local details. So where is this stuff locally relevant? What's the actual availability of this in terms of inventory in store? About you as a company, or why you should be the one to sell them that coffee. If you have guest or influencer content, tutorials, all of these things serve as modules or containerized information that support this one product itself. And what you do then is go through I'm not going to go repeat all the schema talk, but absolutely correct 100%. You need to use structured markup and tagging to contain all of these various objects so that a search engine like a Google or a machine, when you're feeding it this information, it's going to use that to learn about you and other things and define your space, can do that in a structured way, including tagging. And then you have active syndication, which means you're feeding this stuff out or distributing it through a product feed or some other source of information. And then there's passive crawling, which you never know exactly how that's going to happen or how that's going to go. There could be a new bot that's being developed now, or several, that are crawling our content now for the purpose of wearables or to show up grocery items on your refrigerator. We won't know about those things until they're here, and then we'll be at a conference like this talking about how we optimize our refrigerators. It's better to get ahead of the game and modularize your content so it's easily exported to all of these different forums. Do the structured markup, tag this stuff, think of your content as objects, and it'll be easily ported into all these different environments. You just break off the pieces that are irrelevant to that new search engine or new search forum, and you've got all the pieces still there to move forward. So this is just that idea of shifting mindset to one where we go from page-by-page optimization to one where we're programmatically thinking about our content and the object ecosystem in which it lives. And so some very quick, point-by-point strategies here. Schema.org markup number one, or some of the other open standards. Product feed syndication. You should, if you're not in media today, be syndicating very robust information in your product feeds, because those paid feeds are going into organic places too. It's not unlike the NAP data for local syndication either. Passing on these contextual aids about where your information is relevant and where it's not. Don't go back 2 years later and go, we should probably have inventory data available when we syndicate product information. No, you should do that now and be thinking about inventory, because inventory control is a very real signal for the future that you need to be thinking about today. Keeping a balance between the types of content available, and then optimization of traditional search engines. So keeping a balance, I'm going to end with this here. So we have a client that's a grocery provider, large CPG conglomerate, and we took their recipe site information and we used quick answers as a mechanism by which to get their information more out there. We didn't do this because we wanted more traffic. We did this for the branding and recognition that happens by owning that real estate. If somebody doesn't want that recipe and clicks to the site, and then they would have bounced back anyway. If they like that recipe, they're going to go visit the site to learn more about it. So my last word of caution here is don't think of everything in terms of net traffic anymore either. The way in which people experience your products and services is going to change in service to these new technologies and these new capabilities, and you really should embrace them and measure them accordingly so that you can show how this performance is better than maybe the same performance and traffic numbers going up to the site. And so that's kind of the last concluding thought, parting word. Shift your mindset from page-by-page optimization to one that's more programmatically driven, and think of your content as objects, and you will be well positioned for the future of search. Thank you.